Welcome to another episode of Holding Space with Authentically Amy. I'm your host, Amy Thurman, and today's episode is just me all by myself. I have received questions about the name Holding Space with Authentically Amy, what it means, how I came up with it, and I wanted to share a little bit with you about that today. People seem to assign their own meaning to things and understand things in their own way, and I think that's the case with me and this holding space. I see holding space differently, I think, than most people. And holding space is actually an acronym that I created to help people understand what holding space is. And SPACE is the acronym. Holding space is just offering a safe, non-judgmental space for people to simply be human. Like, we don't try to change them. We don't try to give them advice. It's not therapy. It's just simply a safe space to be human. And in order to do that, in order to provide that safe space for other people to simply be human, we have to start with ourselves. That's what the S stands for in the SPACE acronym, is starting with ourselves. We have to settle ourselves first. We have to provide a safe space for ourselves before we can do that for anyone else. And even if you're not intending to hold space for other people, holding space for yourself is vital. We're taught that it's selfish, but that is so far from the truth. It's the exact opposite, that we can't do what we came here to do. We can't fulfill our mission and our purpose on this earth without starting with ourselves. That's what the S stands for, starting with yourself, not abandoning yourself to fulfill everyone else's needs and desires. And we do this. I know a lot of us do this. We tend to take care of other people first, and then we turn to ourselves if there's time and energy left. If you're watching this podcast, it's highly likely that you and I have a lot in common. So I feel like we tend to help others first. We have that helping desire, like that's who we are. We just want to help others and take care of others and share what we have learned so that it helps others. And while that is amazing and great, we can't abandon ourselves in the process. So we must start with ourselves. That's what the S stands for. P is for presence, not performing, but presence. In this world, society teaches us to perform. We are encouraged to wear a mask, to pretend that we're something that we're not, because we have expectations to fill and roles to play and all of these things that other people are putting on us. We tend to pretend more than we are simply present. And this means being present with yourself, allowing yourself to know yourself enough that you know what you're feeling, you know what you need, that you don't have to pretend with yourself. You may feel like you have to pretend with society. That's a whole nother podcast episode. But in this one, we don't need to be pretending with ourselves. We need to provide a safe space for ourselves. And that requires presence, knowing who we are and what we need without having to pretend. In my life, that shows up as an uncomfortableness in my body. And it really does show up in everyone that way. Most people just aren't attuned to their body enough and don't know enough about themselves to be able to recognize that feeling when it happens. But when something is not meant for you and something is causing you to pretend, you feel it in your body before it happens in your brain. Before your brain can register it, it hits the body first. So I have learned to pay attention to how things feel in my body, because they tell me the truth. How my body feels tells me the truth. And I would encourage you to become aware and really pay more attention to how things feel in your body instead of how they make you think. What you think about it, pay attention to how it feels in your body first. And that will give you a true reflection of if it's right for you or not. A is for allow. Instead of casting judgment on things that happen in our lives that are part of simply being human, we need to switch that and allow them to be. Open up, allow it to be without judgment. And what I'm thinking of here are our emotions most of the time. And I know society teaches us that our emotions are bad, feeling them is bad, acting out on them is bad, and acknowledging them and even talking about them is bad. But again, that's so far from the truth. Our emotions are part of our communication system. They're here to send us a message. And when we push them down and push them away and refuse to feel them and acknowledge them, we're missing a whole piece of our communication system. Research shows that when emotions come in and if we allow ourselves to feel them, that it only takes 90 seconds for an emotion to serve its purpose and then it will dissipate. 90 seconds. Isn't that wild? If we have an emotion and we choose to feel it and allow it to serve its purpose in our life, it will move on in 90 seconds. But that's not what we do. We grab onto it, we hold onto it, and we don't just let it serve its purpose. We want to grab it and push it down so that we never have to feel it again. But that's not how they work. When we do that, it causes the emotions to become a hurdle for us to overcome, not simply a part of our communication system. And I could park here and talk about this for a long time because I'm really passionate about emotions and their role in our lives and how they are here for us to help us understand ourselves better. But I will spare you that right now and maybe do a whole different episode on that. So in my life, I have learned to allow my emotions to be what they are, to not judge them, to not say they're right or wrong, that emotions just are, and allow them to serve their purpose. And it helps me decode the message that they're sending me. So I see them as, like I said, part of my communication system, and being able to allow them to serve that purpose in my life has become really, really powerful. And that is one of the ways I learned that I talked about before, to feel things in my body first and understand that its message in that way, because it is so, so powerful. So the A is allowing things to serve their purpose, not judging the way we feel, but understanding that our emotions are here to help us and allowing ourselves to feel them. The C is for compassion or curiosity or compassionate curiosity. Instead of being harsh and critical with ourselves, which we almost always are. Again, society teaches us to do that. We expect ourselves to be perfect in so many ways. We have to shift that and turn it into curiosity. When we come at things from a place of compassion and curiosity, it shifts the whole dynamic of things, and it really puts us on a different trajectory in our life because the perspective is changing, the dynamic is changing, and it helps us learn to understand ourselves better. And the more we understand ourselves, the better we can relate to other people and end up helping people in a more positive way. This compassion and curiosity in my life reminds me of a situation I was in where I was in a meeting and the person running the meeting called on everyone else except me. And I just sat there feeling invisible and wanted to run out of the room because I was so uncomfortable, and noticed deeply that I was the only one that hadn't been called on. Instead of getting up and running out of the room and making a huge scene, I chose to go inside and have compassion for myself and approach it from a place of curiosity. And I began asking, what is so uncomfortable to me about being made to feel invisible? Why is that bothering me so much? And what I realized was it took me back to my childhood. No shade on my parents at all. This is just how I felt as a child. I'm a middle child. And so I felt invisible for a large part of my life. And that's not to mean that my parents did anything wrong. It's just how I felt. So this instance where this person didn't call on me, making me feel invisible, it's not really a big deal. But because of that experience in my past that was traumatic, then it brought me right back to that. And so it made me feel very, very uncomfortable. And instead of running out of the room, I approached it with compassion. And I sent the inner child inside of me love, and I began to nurture her, and I began to tell her that I'm not invisible. It's just that the person leading the meeting didn't have anything to address with me. And once I was able to see it from that perspective, I was able to embrace it, and it didn't feel bad anymore. I could see what was happening inside of me, and it helped me understand the experience as a whole and not judge it and not walk away feeling like a loser or like I was just so depressed. Because of this compassion and this curiosity, I walked away with knowledge about this inner child and what she needs from me, and that I need to nurture her more and share more with her. So it was a really beautiful experience overall. And that leads me to the last step, which is E, and that is exit with care or exit with grace. using the example from the sea, I could have exited that experience with, "You're such a loser. Why did she call on you?" And just beat myself up, which has happened in the past. I used to do that a lot. But instead, I chose to exit with grace and exit with care. And I said to myself, "You learned a lot about yourself. You did a really great job," and not running out of the room and making a scene. And you chose instead to show yourself love and to embrace who you are at your core and not pretend like you're someone else or pretend like you're doing something else, but really embracing and loving who you are inside. And the E also, with exiting with care, exiting with grace, leaves the door open for you to revisit that. So if you exit with judgment and you exit with something that makes you feel horrible, you're not going to want to come back and revisit that again. It made you feel bad. You don't want to come back and do that. Your brain and your body won't let you. They will push you away from doing that. But when you exit with care, exit with love, exit from a place of grace, your body said, that felt nice. I learned something there, and I'm okay to go back there. And it will be much more pleasant and easy for you to come back to this and build on it and learn from it and grow from it. So E, exit with care and exit with grace, is a really, really important step. And it really circles back around. It takes you back around to the S, to start with yourself. And the cycle just continues. We just keep going through this process to help ourselves become better versions of ourselves and really understand who we are beneath all of the layers, the expectations and the roles and the hats that we wear and the masks that we wear, to do this self-discovery piece, which leads us to, why can't I talk today? Which leads us to becoming more authentic. We have to go through this process of holding space for ourselves before we can embrace who we are authentically or even learn about who we are authentically at our core. And while this might sound terrifying to you, like, "Oh my gosh, Amy, you want me to do all of that with myself? Like, oh, I don't like spending time with myself. It's too scary." I get it. I used to feel that way for sure. So I understand that. So start where you are, take one step at a time. You don't have to go through all of the steps all at once. You will eventually be able to go through the whole process and start over and keep going through the process. But when you're starting out, just take one step. And you don't have to go through them in order. They're not meant to be in a specific order. Pick one and focus on one and work on that, and then add another one and then go from there. But if you are in a place in your life where you want to do more self-discovery, you want to know more about who you are beneath all of those layers, and people tell us, "Just be yourself. Amy, just be yourself," but you don't really know who that is. I would love to just be myself, but I don't know who that is. I hear that from people a lot, and that's something that I help people do. I have self-discovery reflective coloring workbook that I also do a book study with. I also have a self-discovery course that I walk people through and that I guide people through, that we do this as a community. The book study is also a community of like-minded people who have the same goal and the same purpose, and we're working for toward the same end. And if that sounds like something that you're interested in, I would love to help you. I would love for you to join us. To find out more about any of that, any of the things we've talked about here, I also do speaking engagements. I'm an author. I'm obviously a podcast host. I also work with leaders to help them learn to embrace their authentic selves more openly, and then become a permission slip for those around them to also embrace their authenticity. And it completely changes the culture of the environment, whether it's your work environment, your family environment, wherever you are, whoever comes into your orbit, it changes how people relate to you. It's a very, very powerful thing that impacts every area of your life that most people don't understand. And I love being able to share this message and this skill with the world. I am also the creator of Authentic Intelligence, or AQ, much like IQ and emotional intelligence. This is Authentic Intelligence, which helps you understand who you are beneath all of the layers, like I have already talked about, but it helps you understand living and walking in that authenticity. To help you measure this, I also created your authenticity score, which shows you where you are in relation to your authenticity and helps you learn to get where you want to be in your authentic self. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, you want to dive deeper into that or learn more about that, please send me an email, It's Amy at getamyshelp.com. Or you can go to my website to just look around and find out more about my story and how I came to be the person that I am today. And that's www.getamyshelp.com. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email me or check out my website, and I would love for you to join me. Thank you for being here, for tagging along, for watching. Please share this so that we can get this message out to more people. And until next time, I will be here holding space for you.